Suranya Iyer with me in the studios. Thank you for coming. Alka Lamba, thank you for joining us. She's a social activist. Also joining us today is Sanjay Jha of the Congress, Aman Sinha of the BJP. Suranya is very active on issues concerning children, and of course she's also a legal expert on this. Neena Nayak is a former chairperson of the Karnataka State Commission for Protection of Child Rights, and Vinod Kumar Tikku, former member of the NCPCR. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Do you agree with what he said out there? Let's begin with you, Suranya. Do you agree with what Kailash Satyarthi says, that because children are not a vote bank, politicians haven't looked at them? Because when a Nobel Peace Prize winner makes a comment like that, it's going to get a lot of attention.
Well, I mean, why should children be a vote bank? I think that I don't really understand that idea. What children need are loving and supportive families. And family values are very strong in India. And perhaps one of the reasons why we haven't adopted a popular discourse of speaking of the child in isolation, as if it is the child exists without the context of the family as a composite unit, is because we don't need that. We have strong family values, and in India, we should work towards supporting families and enabling families and communities to raise their children to the best of their abilities.
Yeah, but we
have an example in the West among the countries who have awarded Mr. Satyarthi this prize of what happens, of the kind of abuse that happens by the state on children when you give the state the power to intervene in the family and supersede the authority of family members when it comes to raising children. We should learn from the mistakes of the West.
So you're saying the people who gave Mr. Satyarthi the prize are themselves the greatest offenders? And Mr. Satyarthi should look there first instead of questioning Indian politicians?
We should not go down. We should reject the Western approach, the rights approach to children, which looks at the child in isolation rather than as an Indian culture, as part of a composite unit with the family.
What is wrong with what he said here? Let's come to you, Alka. Haven't Indian politicians let down India's children? I mean, of course they have. Look at the state of our midday meals, look at the child labor rules, look at the amount of child trafficking, look at the amount of child prostitution, look at the number of missing children, look at the number of children who've never been traced. I think we are getting touchy here, Suranya.
No, I think we are getting touchy here. About the midday
I think you're getting touchy here about.
I'm glad you brought up the midday meal scheme. That should be renamed as the midday murder scheme. Every other day I'm reading in the papers about children dying and falling seriously ill because of the midday meal scheme. I'll tell you what the politicians did. Lobbied by the NGOs, they decided to do this. By the NGOs, they decided to do this. You name them, all the child rights NGOs, they're out there. They decided to do this intervention through schools and through the government. Any mother will tell you that it is unhealthy and unhygienic to mass feed children. This intervention should have been done through the family. And every time this comes to the news, the NGOs who push this midday meal agenda, instead of reassessing whether they have made a mistake, whether the scheme is misconceived, they just, like any government,
why are you against the NGOs? What about the politicians?
For more and more money to the midday meal schemes.
Why are you going after the NGOs? What about the politicians, Alka Lamba? What about the politicians? I think Kailash Satyarthi has touched a raw nerve, because he said politicians don't care for children. I mean, I think he has a point out there. I think politicians should accept they've done so.
पॉलिटिशियन के साथ साथ सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता भी, और मुझे ये स्वीकार करते हुए शर्म भी आ रही है कि मैं ये स्वीकार रही हूँ कि बच्चे जो हैं वो वोट बैंक नहीं है, इसलिए सरकारें या पॉलिटिशियन उस पर ध्यान नहीं दे रहे। मैंने बहुत से अपने सामाजिक जीवन में बहुत से मुद्दे उठाए और मुझे लगा हर मुद्दे को राजनीति से जोड़कर देख लिया जाता है और सहयोग नहीं मिलता लोगों का जो मुझे चाहिए। तो मुझे लगा बच्चों को ये जो है वोट बैंक नहीं मानते, इसलिए शायद मैं इनके लिए कुछ करूंगी तो ये नहीं लगेगा कि मैं वोट के लिए कर रही हूँ। और मैंने करना जब शुरू किया तो मुझे हैरानी हुई, उसके बाद भी जो सहयोग मिलना चाहिए था वो इसलिए नहीं मिल रहा था कि वो वोट बैंक नहीं है। उस पर मैं जितना भी काम करूंगी किसी को उससे मदद नहीं होगी, पार्टी हो या सरकारें हो। और आप हैरान होंगे कि आप लुटेंस दिल्ली की बात कर रहे हैं, आपके स्टूडियो में आने से पहले रात को 9:30 बजे 5 साल का मोनू जो है फूल बेच रहा था और अपनी रोटी के लिए वो कर रहा था। तो उसकी माँ से भी जब मैंने बात की तो उसकी माँ का ये कहना था कि उसके पिता को अगर मैं चौराहे पर खड़ा करती हूँ तो उसे शायद 2 रुपए भी कोई नहीं देगा, पर मोनू जो है वो रोज का 100 रुपया और महीने का 3000।
किसको आप तो कैलाश सत्यार्थी ने गलत क्या कहा?
नहीं, उन्होंने ठीक कहा।
मगर सुरन्या जो है वो तो एक्टिविस्ट, वो कहते हैं कि जो NGOs हैं वो
सत्यार्थी जी की बात से सहमत हूं, वो बिल्कुल ठीक कह रहे हैं। ये वोट बैंक नहीं है, इसलिए शायद सरकारें और पॉलिटिशियन बिल्कुल ध्यान नहीं दे रहे हैं।
इफ अगर सरकारें और पॉलिटिशियन को बिल्कुल एनजीओज पे और एक्टिविस्ट पे ध्यान नहीं देना है, आई वुड लाइक टू नो हाउ मिस्टर कैलाश सत्यार्थी एंड हिज एनजीओ बचपन बचाओ आंदोलन managed to get onto every government panel for every commission that they raised.
That's not true. That's not
true. It is
true.
absolutely true.
That's not
2 years ago, I got involved in the child rights issue, not as an activist. I don't believe in child rights and I'm not an activist, but as a mother, when I saw what happened when those 2 children were taken away in Norway by the system there. All right, and I started looking at the state of child rights legislation in India, and I was absolutely shocked to see the anti-family bias and the cut and paste
but why blame Kailash Satyarthi for that?
And Kailash Satyarthi, well, he hasn't. If he believes in child rights, he should return his Nobel Prize and make Norway apologize to those students
one second. One second.
for what they did to her. The children are back with their mother and have been thriving with her. And she is a completely lovely and normal mother. Competent mother.
One second. She's responding to you. Yes, Alka.
नहीं, मैं ये कहूंगी कैलाश जी का हम सब धन्यवाद करना चाहते हैं, जिन्होंने इस मुद्दे के ऊपर पूरे देश का ध्यान खींचा है। और सबसे बड़ी बात, एक घिनौनी सच्चाई जो इस देश में बच्चों के लिए की है कि बाल भिखारी से लेकर बाल व्यापारी जो है वो 5 साल का बच्चा आज भी चौराहे पर खड़ा है।
UNICEF and all the rest of them have all managed to get the ear of the government. Ordinary people and common sense, particularly ordinary mothers, are just not being listened to. If this government is really a nationalist government, then
I say, by looking is Kailash Satyarthi a villain or a hero? Are you saying he's a villain out here? I mean, he's
for us, he's a hero.
Well, she says he's a hero.
Yes, for politicians, he is a hero because he gives them.
No, I'm not speaking here being a politician. I'm a social activist as well.
Nobody is looking at seriously.
Well, I think he's touched a raw nerve.
Okay,
let's one second. One second. Nina Nayak, Vinod Kumar Tikku. Today I'm going to come to the politicians at the end. Nina Nayak, where do you stand on this? Where do you stand on this?
Yeah. See, I largely endorse what Satyarthi has said, and I also say there's a huge responsibility of the public. So they've been just a spectator to this and seeing the total, absolute neglect of children. Look at the status of our children: 50% malnourished, 50%. I mean, the school system is so bad. So I feel that what Satyarthi has brought this into the public domain. He's talking about it. My own experience. I remember once when I went to a small village and asked a politician to accompany me, saying there are very high number of malnutrition deaths there. First question that sprang from him was, what is a vote bank? How many people are there who are voters there? His concern was not about how many children are there. And I think Sukanya is trying to distort this debate by saying let's just accept it. Let's just accept it. I think, Sukanya, you are just trying to distort. We all know the focus is on family. All social security measures, Suranya, I think you are just trying to distort this debate. Let's just come to it.
If I know the focus is on the family, why
family should be the center of all intervention. Family should be. But why are these social security measures not reaching families? Why are they not meeting families? Why are social children? Yes, the focus of all programs of the government is the family, but it's not reaching
take the position that Indian parents don't care their children aren't fed properly. And why did you not organize for midday meals and other such schemes to be done through the family?
What is the reason? Arnab, you're giving too much time and too much space to Suranya. Please let others talk.
Yeah, go on. Yes, go on. It's an open debate, Nina Nayak. It's an open debate. Now, Kailash Satyarthi is not touched a raw nerve. It's okay. Everyone can have their view.
Look at our executive. Look at our executive. There are no domain specialists who are working in the Women and Child Welfare Department or the HRD. Who are these domain specialists? Look at the monitoring bodies. All political appointees across the country. They are supposed to monitor how child
Nina Nayak,
everywhere travel across the country. All political appointees. They do not have enough domain expertise in our country. But
I would like to know why you are operating as providing jobs and consultancies to foreign NGOs and not doing your job and listening to Indian mothers and Indian families for what they want.
Most of our replicable replicable models for children in the country are done by NGOs. Let's just accept it.
Yes,
on all
NGOs, now this is the
committees, on all
problem.
standing
I would-
committees, government is inviting
NGOs are
NGOs.
copy-pasting
They have the expertise. They have the
solutions
expertise.
for Western
And
problems
they are doing
and are not
minuscule
looking
well.
at Indian
They are doing
solutions for
excellent
Indian
programs.
If
problems.
the NGOs are so effective,
Let me
one
give you an
second, if
example,
the
Arnab.
NGOs, Vinod Kumar Tikku, come in please, open
But
debate.
they're very minuscule.
Let me give you an example.
No, one second. If the NGOs are so effective,
I think what
if the NGOs are so
Very
effective,
effective. Give them an
then why
opportunity.
do we have such a
Satyarthi
horrible
said,
state
I
in
will
our country?
certainly endorse-
What are you calling a
I'll
horrible
certainly
state in
endorse
the
what
country?
Mr.
No, one
Satyarthi
second. Okay,
said.
yes,
It has been-
yes,
there has been a
Mr. Vinod
systemic
Kumar
failure.
Tikku. Yeah.
I'll definitely certainly endorse what Mr. Satyarthi has said. The children, 440 million children of our country, which is a huge population, which is definitely put together much more than the entire Europe, has been neglected all through all these years. They have not been, no politician for that matter, not even the executive, even the government officials have not been bothered about all this what's happening to the children. We had come out with the Right to Education Act in 2009. And despite the fact that the first 3 years was supposed to be implementation, and the government bodies did not even bother to look into
Why?
that.
Why is
we
this
went
happening?
around
Who
for
do you
60
blame?
years, believe me.
Because there is no
60,
commitment,
believe me.
there is no
And the
commitment.
Gangetic charts,
was employed for the last 5 years
the
by the
Gangetic
National
charts which I
Commission.
visited
There is no
for
commitment.
60 years,
That
6
is being
decades,
ignored.
no government
not being
official,
ignored. But
nobody
on the
from the
contrary,
district
what
had
is
visited
happening
those
is that
areas.
wrong answers
Now
are
there are at
being
least about
given for the
1,500 children
problems of
going to the
children.
schools.
Let me give you an
6 schools have
example.
been
One second,
provided for.
Vinod Kumar Tikku, she's coming in.
Children have been neglected, certainly yes.
Under the Juvenile Justice
I
Act,
think
there are three provisions made for a child in need of care: foster care, institutionalization in a shelter, or adoption. Placement in the extended family is not even given there as an option. How did that happen in India, in a country where the joint family and the extended
Suranya,
family is so much a part of our social fabric? Because the people who are formulating
Suranya,
Okay, now listen to me, Nana. Suranya, listen to Nina. One second,
ordinary parents are being ignored, and NGOs are
Suranya,
ruling the
listen to
rules.
Nina Nayak. Listen to Nina Nayak.
I think you're just going off. You're just going off. Listen, these alternate government itself in its integrated child protection scheme says 40% of our children are vulnerable, and they have included this alternative care facilities. Strengthening the family is the goal, the philosophy of the Juvenile Justice Act. But what is actually happening on the ground? A large percentage of the grant is not being utilized. State is not utilizing the grants.
NCPCR not restricted.
State is not utilizing the grants.
We do not need the government in our private homes. We do not need the government coming in there like a bull in a china shop.
Government has to facilitate. Government plays a facilitatory role. If the executive and the legislature doesn't come in, how do children's voices get heard? How do vulnerable families start protecting their children's interests? Politicians and the executive have to take proactive role.
Kailash Satyarthi says.
The middle class Indian.
Kailash Satyarthi says.
So are you
It's
saying
not
that
the middle class family, you and I, Saranya. It is a 30%
basically
vulnerable.
that poor Indians are either too illiterate or too irresponsible or too
I'm sorry, you are warped. Your whole ideas are warped. I don't know where you are. I don't know what is happening on the ground.
Because you don't sit there, you just
Look at the Factories Act, look at the NREGA, everywhere you have to have services for children. Just not happening.
You will not jeopardize the family life of any Indian, particularly poor Indians whose only joy is their children.
We want to strengthen families.
My question is, one second, can we come to
Save UNICEF and save the children.
Arnab, I think we are drifting away from the main question.
Can I come to the basic point here? Ladies, please, one second. Suranya and Nina Nayak, watch this. You see, here's the irony here. On the 10th of December, Sanjay Jha and Aman Sinha, I'm very happy tonight. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be saying this, that the politicians have been completely excluded from the debate so far for a change. Both of you may have noticed. The question is, however, and both Sanjay and Aman Sinha must ask themselves this, the greatest irony is on the 10th of December, a man who the Nobel Peace Prize Committee says is a global ambassador in the fight for rescuing children and child rights is going to get nothing less than the Nobel Peace Prize. Right? Sanjay Jha and Aman Sinha. And what is the status of children in our country? Children, lizards fall into the food that they have. Children fall ill having midday meal schemes. You know, crores of children are underweight. 1 minute.
No, I want to stop you on this
Crores
whole
of
business
children
of
are suffering
underweight.
from malnutrition and
What
are
is-
underweight.
please define malnutrition.
We are the global capital for child trafficking,
We are
for
also
child
the global
prostitution.
capital for family values.
And tonight, will the political parties say that Kailash Satyarthi has blown our cover? Now, whether Suranya agrees with the detailing of it or something else, but has Kailash Satyarthi today, Sanjay Jha and Aman Sinha, starting with you, Sanjay Jha, blown your cover today? He's blown you. You wanted a photo up with him. Every politician now suddenly wants to look nice and take a picture with Kailash Satyarthi. He's blown your cover, hasn't he, Sanjay Jha?
Arnab, just give me a quick few minutes to answer, because I missed out a lot of the exchange because it was, far too cacophonous here. But in short, there is no denying that we have a long way to go as a country to really provide what we ought to do at an optimal level for children in the country. I don't think that can be denied. Point number two, I also will not agree with the cynicism that some of your panelists are displaying, assuming that the political system has willfully failed in its
Take
effort.
away the word assuming and all. Come to the point,
Let me make a
Sanjay.
point here.
Come to the point. India's children have been treated pathetically.
Can I make an explanation? Arnab, this is a serious debate.
Please
this is a
accept the
serious
fact.
debate. So just give me,
It's a serious
just
debate.
give me a little bit of
Kailash
uninterrupted
speaking
time.
the truth or
if
not.
you look at the right
You
to
don't
education,
like what he says, but
education is
you
the
don't like to hear.
fundamental factor that will actually result in lesser child exploitation. No, just give me 30 seconds for
why
heaven's
doesn't
sake.
Kailash
Now, if you look at what
Satyarthi-
we
why
did,
does if he's
whether
so
it was in
concerned
terms
about
of having a
children, why
national
doesn't he talk
policy for
about
children,
Western countries
whether it was forming a
confiscating
national
children from
commission
their
for
parents?
protection of
you are on the
children's
same
rights.
point.
Flimsy
1
grounds.
minute, I can
No,
show you the
my point
ICDS
is that he
statistics
is not
that have been
engaged in-
beneficial. But I think the problem in India is not the acts. Arnab, you know it. We have a lot of acts, the Factories Act, the Minimum Wages Act, Plantation Act, etc.
Really? I thought the
There's a
Congress party
children's,
only went on
labor,
talking about the number of acts it
prohibition
brought in when
and
it was in
regulation
power. How
act.
come you changed
Our
your line
problem
now?
is enforcement.
Oh,
Our
really?
problem has always been implementation and effective regulation and
Aman Sinha.
enforcement.
So whose
That is the problem.
responsibility is that?
And that is something which
Whose
I don't want to make it
responsibility is that?
political.
Aman Sinha.
Please remember that labor is a concurrent list.
Aman Sinha.
It is the responsibility of the center and various state governments. And
Asim
therefore, it's a
this is happening on
responsibility
television. At
of
least don't do this
everyone in
about
all
children. Aman
political
Sinha.
and bureaucratic systems. to
Aman
deliver on
Sinha.
it.
So why is it
Aman
like
Sinha,
this
would you
now?
have a
Why
more
is it
honest
after
approach? 1 second.
65
Aman
years,
Sinha, would you be more
50%
honest in your
children
approach and
malnourished?
say what Kailash Satyarthi has said is right? 1 second. Yes, Aman Sinha.
No, Arnab, I was just wondering, we are having a debate on protection of child rights. What children will learn and think seeing all of us fighting so bitterly. Anyhow, the the protection of child rights is a very important subject, and a lot needs to be done in our country. And the present government, at least being conscious of this fact, has brought in a comprehensive legislation which was introduced well before even this Nobel Prize was announced, which was in August, which was the first session of the Parliament, which is called Juvenile Justice, Child Care and Protection Act 2014. Now, in pursuance to this statute, there are a lot of measures
It's
which
an
have been brought
amendment.
in, which are child friendly,
This is a
which address
1986
the
act.
issue
This is a
of
1986
child.
act.
No. It's. I'm
Arnab,
sorry.
can
I'm
I
sorry.
point out-
It's not.
So it's
no
not
mere
a recent
amendment.
act, what
the
you're
whole
saying.
statute is being amended, and not one section, but many sections are amended. So therefore, it is not a question
Arnab,
as if a
please ask-
specific
please
provision
ask
is being
Aman this
amended.
question,
Their
that
whole.
will the
In fact,
Factories Act amendment not
earlier
expose
there
more
was
young
no
children to
focus
exploitation
on
in the
protection
hands
of
of
child
factory
rights.
owners?
For the first time, we have come out with a statute which clearly addresses the question of protection of child rights. The offences against children which are committed, their scope has been widened. The way children are exploited, that has been clearly defined and widened. There are corporal, serious, penal punishments against those indulging into child abuse.
No. There's a
The
counter
procedure
question from
for
Sanjay
juvenile
Jha. It's
justice
coming in
board
for you, Aman
and
Sinha.
children
Counter
welfare
question from
committees
Sanjay Jha. 1 second. Go ahead, Sanjay.
Has been simplified.
Counter question,
It
Aman.
has been
Aman,
made
1 second.
time-bound.
Counter question from
Arnab, my
Sanjay Jha to
question
you.
to
Lot of
Aman Sinha.
Counter
My
question, please. Sanjay Jha to Aman Sinha.
At
Aman,
least that
please
criticism
respond to this question.
cannot be imposed on this
Yeah,
government.
Aman, please answer my question. You are amending the Factories Act. I've heard about the labor reforms you're pushing through. If you go by your Factories Act amendment, Amendment, more children are actually going to be exposed to exploitation in the hands of factory owners. Can you deny that, especially in the light of the fact that 48% of children are today in manufacturing? Can you deny that? I'm going to tell you that we have also brought in the Anti-Manual Scavenging Act. We have also introduced the Anti-Child Marriage Act. Those things are in the right direction. But you cannot claim here at this point of time that you are really pro-labor. It's not just child labor. Are you anti-labor is the big question mark that is coming up. Because if I read your factory amendment seriously, and if you go through it with a fine tooth and comb, it is anti-women, it is anti-children. And I want you to respond to this question.
You are making an incoherent statement. Mr. Sanjay Jha, you have to first understand what you are saying.
It is not. It is not.
No, it is totally incoherent.
You are actually
and
saying that
illogical
factories which
as far
employ
as this
without
government
power
is
up to
concerned,
20 people,
it has come out with the most comprehensive legislation which provides for protection of child rights.
Many children.
Why don't you support it in the parliament instead of going on a tangent and then, you know, diverting to some other subject?
Two questions.
Why don't
two
you
questions I have, please. In the limited time, I want to bring in two questions.
Why don't you support it?
No, two questions. One second. Two questions. My first question to the very sincere-looking Sanjay Jha is this. Sanjay, I appreciate the way in which you're welcoming everything that Kailash Satyarthi says. I want to remind you that when your government was in power a few months back, your government was fighting to ban Kailash Satyarthi from several meetings of the HRD ministry. And we have on record now former UNESCO officials who say the Ministry of HRD was calling up UNESCO officials and say, just don't allow this man into the meetings. Why did you do that? How are you doing some kind of a flip now? Because you also want your photo up with him? Isn't it ironical, hypocritical, the way in which you responded to this whole matter? Anyway, I can see you have no answer.
As a country, we need to go a
No,
long
don't tell
way
me as a
forward.
country. You were banning him a few months back. Now you want to take a picture with him. Second question.
Tell you that
Second
we
question.
are moving in the right
Second
direction.
question.
Yeah, but we should do so at a faster pace.
Don't tell me what we should do.
I don't think there's any reason for Sanjay Jha or anyone else to be intimidated by Kailash Satyarthi's Nobel Prize. It has been given to them by Western countries that have failed children and have made huge mistakes when it comes to the welfare of children.
Okay, second question.
We need to be able to look at Kailash Satyarthi and the agenda he is pushing from independent of the length of the Nobel Prize and decide whether these are solutions that we need for India's
Last
children
question. Now Kailash Satyarthi says that the biggest offenders are politicians. Now my information is there are many politicians who run factories, workshops, industries, employing thousands of children. The suspicion is politicians are the worst offenders. They are the worst violators of child rights. I want a promise from the Congress and the BJP that if this channel brings out any evidence of the involvement of politicians in anything that violates child rights, that you will throw them out from your parties. Please say so tonight. You are on record, both of you.
Yeah, I will go first, Arnab. I want to tell you that it was during the Congress-led Mr. Rajiv Gandhi's time that we introduced the Child Labour Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986.
No, that's not an answer for me.
We will ensure that we will take all steps. We will debate it in Parliament. We will ensure
debate it in Parliament. You should sack people. What's there to debate?
Protect children. I back it completely. I'm saying so explicitly on your channel. Our party will fight for children's rights like it has done in the past.
Ambiguous answer, Aman. Ambiguous answer.
Always of enforcement of regulations in India.
Wishy-washy answer, Aman.
It is not an ambiguous answer. It's an explicit answer.
Ambiguous, explicitly ambiguous, wishy-washy answer, Sanjay Jha.
Let Amal make one promise that in our monitoring bodies, he will have domain experts across the country.
No, that's not the question I asked. I asked him another question.
I think that's a good idea.
I'll agree. Domain expert means all your NGO pals.
I agree. You don't need political appointees.
You should be consulting parents, families, ordinary mothers and fathers.
You need specialists.
If you're going to interfere in our private lives, then you've got to give us a seat on the table. And my request is to the Women's Ministry not to treat UNICEF, Save the Children and child rights activists as if they are the only point of view when it comes to children.
Child rights, and as a party also we stand truly committed to this objective.
Well, I would have expected clearer answers. If this channel finds out any politician violating child rights, we expect them to be thrown out, not from politics, but from public life. Kailash Satyarthi has touched a nerve. Let the debate begin. Thank you for joining me on debate number 2 on the Newshour tonight.